Good evening. Welcome to this month's meeting of the Upper Darby Township Planning Commission. It's May 10th. We have on our agenda, the first thing is our call to order and now our roll call. I'll do that visually. Cassandra is absent tonight and in attendance is Jim, Jeff, and myself. You have the minutes from our last meeting in March. They're a little lengthy because we did have a presentation that night. Is there any changes or additions, corrections?
No, make a motion to accept. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we don't have much on the agenda tonight, communications and bills, reviews. There isn't any official developers in doing any official reviews tonight. And so we can jump all the way down to new business, and our township engineer is going to give us a presentation on the Drexel Park Gardens project. Take it away, Mike.
Do you want to put so the project's actually officially called Nowers Run Stream Bank Stabilization and Flood Mitigation. It's in Drexel Gardens Park, but just to be, understand it was part of an ARPA ordinance. It was part of the Nowers Run ARPA ordinance where it talked about flood mitigation along Nowers Run and also stream bank stabilization. And I'll get into the details. So right now, just to give you a quick update on the project is fully designed. It's in permitting right now. So since the project is located in Drexel Gardens Park, it's along the creek, and it's over an acre disturbance. I believe it's about 3.5. We need to get 2 permits. We need to get one, a floodplain permit, since Upper Darby can't permit themselves. So we have to send it to the state, let the state permit it for us. And then also we have to get an NPDES permit, which we went through one round of comments and we've resubmitted and we're in our second round. The next step in the project is to issue it for bid. Right now we're calculating quantities, finalizing specifications, and then we're going to work on getting approvals to put it out for bid internally within the township. What the project consists of, Josh, if you could just go back to I think this is the site plan, if we could just go back to the existing conditions. Is everyone familiar with the location? It's off of Bond Avenue. We recently put the bridge in there. It's about a 50-foot span bridge. It connects across Bond Ave to Lansdowne over by Drexel Middle School. Yeah, the demo plan. Yep, that's existing conditions. You might have to go down a little bit on the screen. Oh, it's loading. Yeah. So right now you're looking at the demolition plan, and the park consists of 2 baseball fields, a small basketball court, an off-street parking area that's kind of not really, it's a little bit oversized. It doesn't really have any striped stalls, and it is utilized, but not very heavily. And then there's a little driveway/walkway that takes you into the park off of Bond Avenue. To the south of the plan, looking at the plan, assuming the bottom being south, you have Nowers Run. And then to the north, you have a series of residential homes. So it's a heavily residential area. The entire site is within the floodplain. A small portion of the project touches the floodway, and it's only just for some minor grading. We're not really doing any we wouldn't do any major improvements in the floodway, but we just, by default, we have to do some, as part of proposed improvements, we have to do some work in the floodway, which is, like I said, minor, not adding any fill, not disturbing anything. And ultimately, what this project will propose to do is we're going to accept about 16 acres of upstream runoff, treat it, and send it back into the creek. And the ultimate goal of this project, along with many others that hopefully come behind it, is we can reduce the amount of stormwater runoff that is tributary to the culvert that goes down at 69th Street. I don't know if everyone's familiar with Marshall Road, the culvert. There's about a 6-foot, 15-foot wide culvert that goes down the road. And what happens is that culvert can only really handle about the 25-year storm. Anything over the 25-year storm, it's going to overflow and it's going to flood out the homes below. So the idea is to hold the water back, slowly release it, get more storage, and ultimately reduce the potential for an overtopping of that culvert, which when that happens, it's pretty devastating. I mean, it takes out, it flows down, it impacts a lot of residents. There's a lot of businesses that get impacted. The road has to get shut down. It's very unsafe. And it's happened once since I've been here, and that was during Hurricane Isaias. And I think the most notable time it happened was Hurricane, I believe it was Irene, which was like, or Floyd, Hurricane Floyd, which happened back in, like, what was that? That was, yeah, yeah. Everybody talks about Hurricane Floyd down there because it was really bad. A lot of damage. It overtopped. And we watch it. So anytime, I'll tell you, like anytime we get a heavy rain, we're out there watching it. We're looking at the stream gauge online. We're checking it to make sure it doesn't get above a certain elevation. Because if it does, then the police are out there shutting the roads down. Public Works is there. It's a whole big thing. But we haven't, luckily, knock on wood, it's been, you know, it's been holding, and we've been doing improvements. Like, I think even the stuff that we do here, the Planning Commission, you know, when developments come in, we hold them to the stormwater ordinance, we hold them to adding additional trees, additional measures, and ultimately, that's, in a lot of the areas that work's been done, it's been in Nowers Run, and that's been reducing the amount of flow. So this project here is going to be, I think, a big piece that's going to help. And if we go to the next page, I can show what the proposed improvements are going to be.
Can I ask you a technical question?
Sure, yeah, hit me up.
Are you
Yep.
able to model how much flow you are reducing at that Marshall Road culvert? Based on
That-
what, you know, how much,
I have a stormwater model from the site for the area tributary to the basin. I'm working on a model that's going to show how much we need to reduce to get it reduced to the point where, you know, a 100-year storm is now a 25-year storm. That's the ultimate goal.
right?
Get it to capacity. And then ultimately, if that's the case, theoretically, you shouldn't have any overtoppings. The ultimate goal is to make that happen. And I'm actually working on that.
Okay.
Because, you know, obviously, if we can show that this works and get more, we can get more grant funding, get more work done, and improve the condition down in that area. But that's a good point. Yeah, that's something we are working on. Did you have a question, Jim?
I did. So is Nails Run, does that go behind Hard Judah Cemetery?
Yes.
So didn't that development that they put in a few years ago, didn't that have a negative impact on exactly what we're talking about?
Which development are you talking about?
The townhouses? Okay.
Are they townhouses?
I think so.
Are you talking about Creekside? They had stormwater management. You're talking about by Drexel Gardens Park area, or you're talking about the supermarket?
Supermarket.
No. Oh, you're talking about residential homes?
Residential
Upstream?
homes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would
so
be
if you go-
Creekside.
If you
I
go
guess-
behind Hillcrest, behind Hillcrest.
Was that Creekside? Where's Hillcrest at? I might not be.
That's what you're talking about. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, is that Creekside? So that residential development had stormwater, which, you know, collects the runoff and slowly releases it to meet the required reductions. So they should have had a net positive impact post-development with their stormwater calculations.
Because now there's more flooding. I'm just trying to figure out, is this all like what started all this? Because those houses, that field used to absorb a lot of water. Now it's all lots of macadam, so the water is just rushing towards the creek.
Well, yeah, anytime we add development, like just take, for example, any development that we work on, it could be, you know, it could be Delaware County Community College, it could be Drexel Line, you could be adding impervious, taking away.
This specific situation, why would they have approved macadam next to a creek, knowing that it was going to increase flooding?
Well, they wouldn't approve, the township or any agency wouldn't approve macadam next to a creek if there wasn't some commensurable reduction happening. So there would have to be an underground basin, there'd have to be some kind of stormwater BMP that controls the flow of runoff and reduces the flow
But
ultimately.
is there there? Does anybody know? if
Per
there is there?
Creekside, yes,
Yeah,
there
is.
are, yeah. There's a large underground basin in the back of it that collects the runoff, and that had to get an NPDS permit, that had to go through through the Conservation District, the state, to get all their proper approvals.
And I wouldn't forget, right, in the last 10 years, right, since that development's come in, we've also seen a lot of development upstream as well. Right, we're seeing a lot of new impervious surface in the northern township, townships above us. So every time that, you know, they're also adding macadam and concrete,
Right,
they're
but we can't
increasing
do anything
that
about
flow.
them, but we can do it in our own backyard like that.
Right,
Creekside just seems-
Yeah.
all the municipalities are working to reduce their stormwater impacts.
So who?
All the municipalities?
Right. I'm just curious
Yeah.
why it just seems like that's increased flooding in that area, just so you know.
Well, I think the other factor here is we seem to get 25, 50,
The-
100-year storms every couple years.
The intensity of the storms that we're getting are just, or have been, look, I've been around for 40 years, right? So I just know what I saw 40 years, but the last like 10, I feel like we've gotten these storms that are just, when they come, they're like torrential rains and they hit hard. Not, and that's what I hear generally from people, you hear that, you read that on articles, you read that in the news, you see different sources, you look at the rainfall data. In these past, say 10, 15 years, we've been getting really heavy rains. Even this year, we've had record rains.
Well, no, I know,
Yeah.
but I'm just, so I just want to focus on the actual. what's
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
So when did this project start?
This project started probably back in, I guess it would start when the ARPA ordinance was put in place. So I'd say sometime back in July last year.
And when is it expected to be complete?
Oh, so when would this project start? So ideally, so construction-wise, we would like to start in July and be complete this year. But there's always items, like there could be some punch list items, there could be some things that may not happen this year that might carry into next year, but we'd hope to have it done this year. So what we're proposing to do, are you able to zoom in, Josh?
Yeah.
This is the park you go down, and Hillcrest is on your left-hand side. You keep going, and you go over a bridge.
Which way are you coming from? I think that's, yeah. That's,
Hillcrest is on my left.
Yep.
Bunch of houses on my right.
yep.
Keep going.
And then you hit the bridge and then you cross the bridge
Yes.
and then the park's on your right-hand side.
Cemetery. And here it is, just to the south of the cemetery. And there's those townhouses that you're talking about.
Okay.
So this park is right there.
Right, that's what you just said. Right,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay,
So this is the site plan, and what you'll see from this plan is that the site includes a mixture of stormwater and some recreation. And the recreation is more to take place at a recreation that's lost as a result of constructing the flood control measure. So what we're proposing to do is put in, if you're looking at the right side of the screen, there was a baseball field there before. That baseball field's going to go away, and that's going to be a large scale stormwater basin. That's what's going to control the 16 acres of flow upstream. Around that basin area and around the baseball field is going to have to get reconstructed. We're going to have to relocate some fences, so that'll all get reconstructed. But we also have a series of walking paths that wrap around, almost like a figure eight, around the basin and also around the baseball field. We are reconstructing the basketball court, adding a little outdoor pavilion, and also we are modifying the parking lot, doing two things. One, we're going to actually make it, narrow it down, make it smaller because it doesn't have to be so wide. We're going to add additional parking stalls, and we're going to make sure that the access route to get into the park is actually a little bit wider so it can accommodate two cars. Additionally,
you said you're gonna knock it down and add some spaces. I don't understand.
we're going to narrow it. We're going to narrow it down, lengthen it, which will
Okay.
allow us to add more spaces and not add much additional impervious surface.
So you're gonna swap the space out on one side for the other?
Yeah, because the parking lot's really wide. It's really like, if we go back to existing conditions, you'll see, like, that's proposed, but it's actually really like, it might have like a 30.
I know. 'Cause that's
Yeah,
where
I
they-
think
that's
right
where
now it
the-
has like a 30,
a bunch of new trees there.
yeah.
They're all gonna stay intact,
That
right?
we're not touching any, we are not going to disturb any of those trees that were put in. No. We would not. That's why if you look at that's the demolition plan. You'll see on the demolition plan, we don't propose to remove trees. All those trees are going to stay.
The existing,
Yeah.
the existing lot right here.
See how it's really wide? You see that little hatch? There's a hatch to the south and a hatch to the, I guess you call it east and west. But that area is going to get taken out, and then I can lengthen the parking area, allow for more parking stalls, ADA accessibility, and also get some sidewalks in there as well. which will allow for pedestrian access. Instead of having a shared roadway, if we go back to propose, right now, there's no really, the only access into the park is through the driveway. So right now, we'll have, if you look, you'll see there's a little walking path that connects you into the park so that you're not sharing access with cars. So it'll just be a straight, be a separate pedestrian and vehicular access.
Is there one baseball field now or two?
There's two.
And you're gonna get rid of one.
We're going to eliminate one. The other one's going to get reconstructed. And that was coordinated through Parks and Recreation.
And who uses that baseball field?
It's not heavily utilized. It's my understanding that it's an overflow field. So if the baseball league, needs some additional fields, they'll go use that one. But based on the coordination through Parks and Public Works, that second field wasn't really necessary. So it made a good spot to get the basin in and obviously create the feature that I think serves as two things. It's a learning feature. It's aesthetically pleasing when it's all done, and it's also going to help downstream flood mitigation. So it's definitely going to be a huge improvement and also benefit water quality, because all that water gets in, the sediment gets taken out of it, and then it goes into the creek, which ultimately improves the stormwater system.
Mike, do you want to talk about the additional bridge funding we're going for?
Yeah,
That's
so
also in this area? while we're here?
so we also applied for, in this area, we haven't received the grant yet, but we applied for what's called an LSA grant, which is local share account. And there's 4 bridges that we want to upgrade within the township. The bridge that is, I guess Josh is zooming in on it right now. I guess you would say it's on the right side of the page. That bridge, if we get funded, will replace that bridge, and that bridge will be a good trail connection to other areas in the township. However,
Pedestrian bridges,
that's pedestrian bridge, yep. And I believe right now it's also, some kids take it as a school route. It connects to the neighbors, the neighborhood back to the rear as you go further down. But there's also a lot of benefits to that bridge, and hopefully we can get it upgraded because it's past its useful life right now and could use it, definitely an upgrade. There's 2 other areas too. We have 2 in Nowers Run, and the other one is Nowers Run Park. When I say Nowers Run, we have 2 bridges at Nowers Run Park that we want to upgrade, which are school routes. And the other one I think is it Westbrook? Is that where it was? It's in that area. I can't think of the 4th one right now, but we applied for a grant to get some additional bridges upgraded. Anything you want to talk about? Anything else you think I should touch on, Josh?
No, I think that's pretty much it. It's a good plan. There's lots of tree plantings. We're reducing stormwater. This is one of the kind of multifaceted approach that the township's taken to reducing stormwater management, right? Part of it is doing engineering projects like this where we're physically holding it. And another part is, regulation and making sure that we're planting trees, that we're keeping as much green space as possible, that we're doing simplified stormwater management when somebody comes in for a permit for a small project. So it's not going to be one thing that solves the stormwater problem, but it's hopefully going to be an accumulation of all of these efforts.
Does anybody ever AutoZone is where the big flood space
Oh,
is,
yeah.
isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
on Marshall Road.
yeah, it's the old
Marshall,
A&T. And that never should have been built, but anyway. Do people ever just find money to buy out the store and make that the?
There's
money, right?
so every you
There
can
is,
sometimes
yeah.
get stuff from FEMA.
Yeah.
There's what is it
There's
reclamation process?
pre-disaster mitigation. Yeah, there's grants for that.
'Cause,
And
yeah, FEMA would prefer not to pay out for disasters every time there's a disaster,
But to
and
block
to
it.
buy the property off. And so sometimes we'll see there'll be grants and things to buy back properties that are in floodplains. And yeah, those are also options that we should always be keeping an eye out for.
yeah, and then the other thing about that too is the owner would have to want to sell. And then also those grants come with a 25% match. So if we were, say, for example, the township wanted to go and any township wanted to go buy out a bunch of properties in a floodplain, that 25% match would be on the township. So the township would have to find a way to fund that. So we'd have to find other grants or cash match to cover it. And also, like, I've worked on flood mitigation projects, like, say, for example, there's the houses on Veronica. You would need every single house to be a party too. So like, if, for example, like I was doing this project in another location where we had 6 houses in a row. We had all 5 homeowners want to sell. The 5th one didn't want to. The project's done. Just like that. So it's a process. You are right. There is funding out there. It's a process. And if there's enough loss that happens and that occurs, you know, FEMA starts looking into that more closely.
Also, it gets harder to get insurance.
Yes.
Keeps getting
Yeah.
destroyed.
Because that company just built a new store on Baltimore Avenue, like a mile and a half away. For the exact reason of the flooding situation.
Are they, and they're, I guess they're still open down there too. Maybe
They're still open, but rumor has it, as soon as the other one opens, they're gonna close that anyway.
Oh, really?
Which is-
Well, then they might, yeah, they might try to sell it or do something with it. Yeah. Who knows?
Maybe you'll see it here.
I like the idea in there how the stormwater collection area is not just sort of a ugly set aside, but a feature, like with the actual walking path around it, like it's something to show off as opposed to you think of like these catch basins and just yucky water. This is so different.
Yeah, we wanted to integrate it with the park and make it a piece. And that's why the walking path, like you can walk around, it makes a passive recreation,
Yeah.
but also gives you that feature. And it's a learning
And
tool
it's
as well.
educational
Yeah.
for people as they walk around with that. This is how you can manage stormwater.
Like, are there benches as well anywhere?
There will be benches.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've seen it, not around here, but in places where there's a nice fence. What kind of fence will be around it?
Right now, we're proposing a 3-rail wood fence similar to what we have over at now Stonehurst Hills Recreation Area. I gotta remember that name. Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to go look at that. Anyway, the one I saw, not around here, they had a retention basin and like 3 points around this. They had a big trail, it was enormous. I want to say it was like a half mile to walk around it. There were little notches out into it, like, so the fence went in, dipped in a little bit, and that little seating area. So people could keep walking, but the seating area was,
Yeah, and one thing, it could be that type of fence or or almost like the fence we have out in the parking lot there, out front, like something that's metal, that's a little bit more sturdy. But I think it's a 3-rail is what we're going to put in right now. You want something that's sturdy that also, you know, looks aesthetic and fits the park.
when you do the 3 of us, you do the cement holders with the wood, or is the whole thing wood?
It gets cemented.
The cement holders with the wood sides.
Oh, no, it gets, so the post gets cemented and it has the wood fence with the 3
Yeah, are
rails.
the posts made out of cement or are they made out of wood?
They're made out of wood.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea to make them out of cement, make them a little bit stronger.
I
But
mean,
also we put a metal cage, like a metal, not a cage, but like a metal gate around, like I guess you would call it like netting.
Roll
to keep-
fencing?
Yeah, to keep it in place. And that keeps it from like people like pushing it over or moving it.
Right. I mean, the cement holders aren't as pretty as the wooden ones, but considering how hard it is to get stuff fixed once it's in, it's better to do something sturdy. That's my opinion, just my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you?
I agree.
ever-
Yeah, I
did you
agree.
ever compare
Especially,
the-
I always think every time we're designing a project, we're always thinking, I'm working with Joe Martin, Public Works, and Bill Kaplan in Parks, and we're always thinking of what do we have to do to maintain it? And how do we like best, like, for example, the basin, one of the things that we came up with was doing like a low mow grass. So it doesn't have to get mowed every 2 weeks. You mow it once or twice a year. So we're not constantly out there cutting the grass down, or it's getting ahead of us, or if it gets, say, for example, we get a very rainy summer and the guys are just behind for whatever reason, we don't have to, we don't have this overgrown basin there that becomes a nuisance. Thank you.
So that was it for the agenda tonight. Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?